Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with my good friend Pankaj Patra. He's the SVP and CIO of Brinkers International. Pankaj, would you mind introducing yourself, please, and telling us a little bit about your roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim, for giving me the opportunity. So, my name is Pankaj Patra. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Brinker International. We have close to 1,600 restaurants all over the world, primarily in US, corporate owned, and we manage two brands, Chili's and Maggiano's, which are brick and mortar, and then we have two virtual brands. It's just Wings and Maggiano's Italian Classic. I've been with the company for this go round for close to 10 years now, and in the role for last 3 years.
Pankaj, would you mind sharing a little bit about your journey into the role of the CIO? What were some of the key milestones that prepared you for this role?
Yeah, Tim, that's a great question. I have been a technologist at heart. So I started my career in 99 working on Sybase and Excel spreadsheets and all those things. So I always loved working on technology. And as I continued working on technology, I started managing different aspects of the business, whether it is managing a team within a bigger project, managing a bigger project. It just gave me an avenue to learn more and more about not just the technology side but also the business side. And I have been doing that for last 10, 15 years. And it helped me at least get to a point where I feel comfortable to lead all aspects of a IT department. It may not seem like that, but it is very complex in terms of like all the different groups which are there within IT, and how it works and how it comes together. And I just had the privilege of doing all of those at some point in my career, which prepared me to then take over as the Chief Information Officer for Brinker. And I would also add, apart from that, one of the big thing for me has been uh, understanding the business which I am in, because technology for the sake of technology won't cut it, right? Like a lot of people know how to manage technology, but why are we working on certain things? How does it impact the business? How does, in my case, in restaurants, how does it impact my team members? And how do guests perceive? Like just having that mindset working with the business did help me also immensely to be a true business partner as I took on the chief information officer role.
Wow, you've covered quite a bit of ground there. Thank you for that. When you think about working with your business partners, some of the challenges that we often have is that many of them don't have as deep a technical background, and it can be quite challenging to talk about deeply technical initiatives with non-technical business executives. How do you navigate that?
Again, a great question, Tim. I don't like usually when I start a conversation or have a meeting, I don't start it with technology. At the end of the day, I'm my goal is to be able to solve a business problem or work on a business strategy, and that's where the conversation starts. Technology is an enabler, and I think by now everybody knows the role technology plays with any system, any solution, any process. So I honestly, like, I didn't have a big challenge in explaining what technology can do, but my role has been is to collaborate with them, understand the business challenge we are trying to solve, and then come back to my team and think about like business processes, technology solves, and all those things. So the success in my case has been like, don't talk to them about technology, right? They are already well aware of it. What they are trying to get from you is to be able to say like, hey, I can understand what you're trying to solve, and I can come back with a solve which is optimized through use of technology. And I think that's has been a big um, tool for me to be able to take it to some of these conversations.
Oh, that's true. I mean, if you focus on the business problem and the business challenge, I mean, that is something that's common for both groups. So that makes it at least a common starting point. Can you talk a little bit more about your team? How are you set up and kind of how are you structured and how do you work with your team?
Yeah, so I have a team of close to 100 people working for me. And the way the team is structured is very much aligned with the business. So I did do a reorg when I took over the role of Chief Information Officer and aligned the whole group with business. So, and if you think about, so since I'm from a consulting background, I had to bring some consulting knowledge into this, right? So I divided the team into verticals and horizontals, as we call in the consulting world. But my first one was operational stability. So anything and everything we put in the restaurant or put it in the hand of our team members, both at home office as well as restaurants, we need to make sure that it works. It works in a way where it doesn't become a hindrance to them, but it's more about how does it enable them to do their job. So our first focus was operational stability, and our commitment to our business partners was that we are not going to do anything else unless we are able to stabilize the systems we have in our restaurants and home office. So that's, I had a leader lead that. The second one was team member experience. So before I can change my guest experience, I have to have somebody who can, or I have to have systems which is going to change my team members experience, right? I have 6,000 or close to 60,000 now team members who are working in our restaurants on a daily basis, and another 500 to 600 team members who are working in home office. I need to be able to give them an experience which they will be proud of and want to use. And if I'm able to change their experience, I'm pretty sure they are going to change the experience of the guests who are walking into our
Mm.
restaurant. So I have a leader who manages everything from a team member experience perspective. Then it's the guest experience. So we have a leader who manages all guest touch points, and the idea is that anything and everything which goes or is being used by our guests has the same look and feel, kind of same kind of experience, right? Make it easy for them, make it convenient for them. There should not be any friction points. So there is a team leader who manages that. And then we have innovation and infrastructure. So, and it goes in that order, Tim, to think about. So we are not going to do anything on team member experience unless we have operational stability. We are not going to do anything on the guest side unless I have my team member experience buttoned up, and we are not going to innovate unless my the systems and the processes we have today works. And then we have supporting functions, whether it's like data and reporting, which supports all the verticals. We have cybersecurity, which supports all the vertical. We have shared services like vendor management, PMO, franchisee, which supports all this. So that's how my team is structured, but it is very much aligned where um, like I can take each of my leader and have them work with a key stakeholder within my business community, and they can align with them. So that's how I have structured my team, and it has been working well for me.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Operational stability, employee experience, then customer experience, and then innovation at the tail end there too as well. That it makes a lot of sense. And to have that kind of alignment, structure, organizational structure alignment then with your business partners makes it easy for them to know who to and nurture the relationships. Um,
Mhm.
much has also been said about the people skills needed for those in IT. I was wondering if you could maybe offer some commentary on that. How have you grown as a leader, and particularly as it relates to the people side?
Yeah. So one thing which I have learned over the last several years being in the industry, at the end of the day, um, I like from if I look at it from a technology perspective, I can teach anybody technology, but I need to have the drive, the passion, the loyalty, which I can only bring to the table if I take care of my team members. This is one of the feedback I usually give when I attend a conference or speaking in a conference, is that if you look at my leadership team combined, they have 20 years of technology experience, but from a loyalty, from a attitude to make a difference, from a experience perspective, they have 200 years of experience, right? I can always teach them technology, but what I cannot teach them is the loyalty. What I cannot teach them is the passion to make a difference, the attitude to make a difference, right? Like that's what is very near and dear to me, and that's what I look at when I look at my team members. And honestly, like for me, I have grown the same way. For me,
Mm.
um, I can be a great technologist, but if I don't understand the people side of it, I don't understand my customer needs. Um, it's not going to click. It's not going to work, and that's where I've been focusing on. Um, Again, from my team perspective, I make sure that I take care of the team members I have, understand what they need, what drives them, and talk to them and work with them in a way where they feel they are a part of a bigger goal. They are part of a uh, North Star, which all of us are trying to get to. If I'm not able to instill that, if I'm not able to motivate in that way, it's going to be really difficult for them to work for an organization where they they don't
Mm.
know where we are going. They don't know what the end goal is. So that's what I've been
Interesting.
preaching and practicing for a long time, Tim.
Very interesting. So you're hiring for drive, for loyalty, and for passion, and then you're going to teach them the technology. How do you
Right.
find that? How do you know that up front when you're interviewing somebody or you're considering a candidate?
Yeah, and it's a hit and miss, and but we do a really good job. So even for like somebody who is coming onto the technology side, always doesn't get interviewed by folks from my team or my department. I put them in front of the business. I put them in front of our culture group, who are good at asking those questions, who are able to understand that side of the individual or a leader who we are interviewing. And sometimes, again, like we have our own challenges, but it's you will be able to figure that out pretty quickly. And
Mm.
again, at the end of the day, take them out for dinner, ask them about their family, ask them about their hobbies are like, see if they are able to give you some of the insights. Like take them into a an environment where they don't feel pressurized that it's an interview. I need to get every answer which the person is asking correctly, right? Give them that
Mm.
environment where they are open, like so all those helps and gets you to know somebody at a level where it's different than you would have got in a structured environment, right? So, and we have been having success on that. We have our own challenges, and it's not like a foolproof, but we have been following it, and it's working for us.
Excellent, excellent. Well, everything starts with the people, starts with the employees, starts with the customers. If I could shift our conversation a little bit and talk a little bit about the restaurant technology stack, could you provide some uh, guidance and structure on how to think about the technology stack that's currently in play for or how it's changed for the restaurant industry?
Yeah, so I think what I can say, Tim, like so you'll have different groups who are going to be doing it differently. So for me, like I have a team which I can leverage to put an architecture which is going to work for us. And I'm fully aware that especially in the restaurant space, everybody may not have a team of the same size to be able to do some of the things. So I'll break it up into two areas. One where it's a team where departments have a team which can put this structure together, right? So we have been working on a common framework, common architecture, which is going to help us um, be more nimble to the restaurant needs. What I mean by that is essentially like putting a foundation together, right? Pouring the foundation so that we can then build a house which we know is going to be able to withstand the pressures which are there from outside. Um, and while it takes time, it's there is no way out of it. So we have been working on this for last 4 or 5 years in different setting, but we have been putting an architecture where like we have a common hub or common framework which helps us integrate easily with any of the third party, because we are not in the business of building software, but at the end of the
Mm.
day, my goal or my charter is to be able to implement solution which is going to work for our restaurants. And If I don't have something which I can get from the marketplace, then we have to go and build it. So whether we build it or whether we integrate it, that this common framework helps us uh, be very nimble. Also helps us to adhere to the framework, so that when we know what kind of data we are getting from the system, what kind of security protocols we have to follow, what kind of integrations we have to build. I don't have to cater to multiple different ways of doing it. I just have to adhere to the framework and have a team which can do that. And I know that if they follow that, it's going to be secure. It's going to provide me the same kind of data and all those things. And that has helped us tremendously during the COVID time to implement some of the new things,
Mm.
or helping us on a daily basis to improve our capability to deliver to the business needs. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is for players or groups who don't have a big department to be able to implement some of these things. I think the biggest thing is challenging the partners who play in that space, right?
Mm.
At the end of the day, um, you have multiple solutions which are out there. When you go to a trade show, you look at like how many of them have a table management system, how many of them are coming with a new POS, how many of them are coming with a new online ordering, and all of them work for the purpose they are built for. Can they work in the restaurant without impacting the stability of the restaurants? Because at the end of the day, the operators are there to run the restaurant, not be your tech person, right? They are not your help desk. They are there to be able to take care of the guests, not train them on how to use systems. So all those things we have to keep in mind. So challenging our partners who provide solutions to be able to think in that way, so that at the end of the day they are providing something which is going to work for uh, people in the who are not able to build some of these architecture. And it's not difficult. I think it's a mindset change rather than uh, anything else, because once people start thinking about it, once partners start thinking about it, it's a much easier uh, challenge than what it may look like from outside. So I think that's how I would put it in two different buckets, Tim.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I think it's one of the common challenges that we see time and time again is it's just very difficult to make all the different pieces of the tech stack play together nicely. And it's
Mhm.
and to your idea, a common framework, a common foundation that allows these pieces to kind of get set up independently is very much needed for the industry at large in many cases. When you think about then this kind of approach and kind of the role the vendors play. How are you? If you, could you maybe provide some advice on how you engage with your vendors in terms of managing them and kind of working with them and collaborating with them?
Yeah, and I think from a technology perspective, it starts with the why. Like, why are we doing the way we have built these systems? And as I said, like most of these partners we work with are open, and probably to some extent very relieved and thrilled that hey, somebody is thinking in those lines, right? Because at the end of the day, our goal is the same goal, right? To be able to have a piece of technology which is going to get implemented in a restaurant, and it's going to work for where team members and guests are going to love using it, right? So the goal is the same. Now, how do we do it is where we may have differing opinions, but once we explain why we have this common framework, why they have to adhere to certain standards if they have to interact with us or integrate with us, it's a much easier conversation, right? People, our partners, do want to do that. And For example, if you think about right, security on a API call, right? And the reason we need that is because we want to make sure that we are getting uh, or we have the appropriate controls, that nobody is able to make a spurious call or a call which is not intended, right? I don't think anybody is going to push back and say like, oh no 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 no, we should not look at that, right? Because if anybody is aware of what is happening in the industry, what is happening in the cybersecurity space, this is something which is like in the forefront of everybody. You just have to be
Yeah.
able to tell them that, hey, this is the reason why we are doing it, and all of them are open to that, right? So that's just an example, but there are so many other examples where, like, if you explain the whys, why you're doing it, why is it important to you guys, how is it going to change the experience, how is it going to change the team member experience, how does it add to the stability of the restaurant, we have seen a huge success on aligning with our partners. I haven't seen at least anybody who pushes back and says like, "Hey, we are not going to work with you because you have this framework uh, which you want to stick to."
Wow. And listening to you talk, I can easily imagine how Brinkers is probably smoothing the way for a lot of the smaller companies that may not have this kind of pull or influence over the vendors to be able to kind of take advantage of the work that you've done and the structure that you've put in place. And so I can see a kind of a benefit, not just for yourselves, but for the industry at large. You mentioned cybersecurity, and I was wondering if you could maybe speak a little bit more on that. It seems really thinking about some of the headlines that have recently hit, it just, it's hard to imagine how, one bad attack could undo so much and do and so much damage to your business. How are you thinking about cybersecurity, and what kind of guidance or advice could you provide on that?
Yeah, so having gone through a data incident and lived through that, it's on the forefront for me. Like, if you ask me what keeps me up at night, that exact thing is one thing which, like, keeps me up at night. But we have been able to look at it from a perspective of, like, what we need to do to secure our four walls. And I would say, the systems which we have put in place, the processes which we have put in place, um, it has been helping us tremendously in uh, like fortifying the walls which we have. One thing which I would tell Tim, like, on a cybersecurity space, and I'm trying not to overshare, but I'm making sure that it's relevant. At the end of the day, we have to run our business, right? If I make it so difficult for my business partners to operate a restaurant, then, like, our revenue is going to get impacted. So how do I look at how I'm implementing some of these processes within the four walls, where it doesn't slow down my process, but also isolates the thing which are critical to me, or critical to the security posture, and trying to do it in a way where I can have a coexistence of both. And it's a challenge. It's There is no easy way out of it. I have an amazing team which has been helping us think through that. We have an amazing group of partners who have been helping us build those things. But at the end of the day, when you look at cybersecurity and what you need to do, I would say partner with somebody who understands, again, has that kind of mindset, understands what you're looking for, and be honest with them. At the end of the day, you're in the business of running restaurants, or putting technology in the restaurants, and you have to do that where guests don't feel your systems are slow, or you have put too much control that they are not able to uh, interact with you, or the convenience factor and all those things. And the same holds true for team members. You cannot give them something where it says like, "Hey, you have to go through five different authentication process before you can get in." Like, at some point they're going to say like, "Okay, I'm good with pen and paper," right? So how do you strike that balance? And I can again tell you, from my experience, is that there is a happy medium path, which is there. You just have to be able to explain that, and challenge your partners to bring that to the table and think in that way as you're implementing it.
Oh, that's very helpful, actually. So you're looking for that balance of where you can get enough cybersecurity to protect and defend your businesses from the attacks that are out there, but also balancing that with the need to be able to operate the restaurants in a convenient and efficient manner for your employees and for your customers too as well. That actually
Yeah.
reminds me of some of the when we think about technology, and so much of the discussion right now in the restaurant industry is around labor shortage and just the inability to get all the people that we need to run and operate the restaurants. And it seems like technology has a very natural play as it relates to automating and kind of making it easier to run the business, so to speak. Can you speak about how technology has been, or how you're thinking about the automation element and using technology to kind of be able to do more with fewer people?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things which we are doing, but I think the mindset for us has been always there, right? We know that running a restaurant is really difficult, right? Like if you think about all the different processes which are there, what you need to do, and we want our operators, as I said, not to be tech support, but taking care of our guests and our team members, and that's the focus. So we have this mindset of just trying to look at everything and simplify. So I'll give you an example of. So I was working in a restaurant on a Friday evening. We had rolled out a system during COVID, and um, I felt good about it, and I was like, okay. So I was in the restaurant. I said, like, let me manage that. Like, let me work on that same system. I would have lasted for like 15 minutes, where I was like, oh my god, like this is like team members cannot do this. So what that did is like I was eating my own dog food, but also gave me an opportunity to say like, okay, this system doesn't work. So why am I putting my team members in that situation, right? It's not simple. It's difficult to use, guests are not complaining and all those things. So we look at it from that lens, like, can I go and run a restaurant, use the system I'm putting out there? And we came back and redid everything. Is it 100%? No, but is it better than what we had? Absolutely. So I think that's the kind of things which we look at, whether it is doing a line check and trying to automate as much as possible, trying to uh, look at automation so that we don't have to have operators do the same task over and over again. Like all those things have been in the forefront. What has been really important right now is that knowing the labor shortages, knowing the newness in the system, it's becoming more and more critical for us to uh, like just be hyper focused on that, right? Like to be able to make sure that we are looking at simplification to a degree which we haven't looked at, and it's a huge advantage for, at least for a technologist like me, to say that, hey, I've been telling or I've been talking about this for a long time. Now we are realizing that we have to do it. That's the only way out of this whole thing. So and that's helping us in terms of pushing some of the things on from a operator's perspective to technology solves, so that they can, like, it's simple for them to be able to do their work in the restaurant. We have implemented handhelds in our restaurants, where team members can take orders at the table itself, and it does help us in terms of accuracy of orders, making sure like we have the best team members on the floor and things like that. And those are again like things which is going to simplify operations uh, as we go through this. So having that mindset of like, hey, anything I can non-value add, I can take it out. Like I think that should be the goal.
That is quite the litmus test, right? To eat your own dog food, to experience firsthand what your technology experience looks like when you're in the restaurant, and for the operators and for the employees themselves. Pankaj, thank you for this. One, I guess, maybe last question just to ask you is, when you look at retail, the restaurant technology stack and kind of where it's going, how do you see it evolving in the near term? Where are we headed with technology in the restaurant?
Yeah, I think and I'll give you my perspective. I don't know if like the change curve for other players, other partners, and how they are going through this. But for us, it's I should be able to have a system which is self-healing, redundant, scalable, driven primarily by cloud, on and that's how it should work. Like today, if you look at the different systems I have in a restaurant, it's like probably 100 different types of devices in my restaurants, and they are not interoperable, right? So if my kitchen display systems goes down, I cannot take an iPad and put it in the kitchen display system, just because of the kind of structure I have. So I think where we are looking at is like how do we reduce the footprint of technology, still be able to do more with less, right? Like I still want to
Mm.
make sure that operations in the restaurants are driven by technology, but I don't have to have that many disparate systems. How do I scale up and down, right? If a Friday night rush hits, I don't have to say like, hey, now I have to do something different. The system should know that there is a Friday night rush and ramp up or down. You would have limitations from a kitchen capacity perspective, but at least technology doesn't become the bottleneck on that. And then the last thing is that it has to be stable and scalable, right? Nobody has to go through any training material when they're using an iPhone or a device like that. Like, why do I have to have somebody learn a new system every time I have to deploy something? It should be much more intuitive, much more scalable, stable, and I think that's where we are heading. It's a journey for us. I would say like we have started some elements of that, but I think we have a long way to go. But I feel pretty bullish and positive that um, if we stay in the path we are in and continue on what we are doing, we should be able to get there one day.
That's a great insight, actually. The evolution of the restaurant technology stack is not going to be more complicated. It's going to be simpler. And actually, in that simplicity is actually going to be much harder to achieve. It's easy to get things very complicated. It's much more difficult to make things simple. If you were to start off your career or maybe have a chance to speak to those who are just getting started in restaurant technology, any advice for how they could better prepare for a career in restaurant technology?
Yeah, I think if it's a leader, I would say like understand the business before you understand technology. If you are
Mm,
able to crack that code and establish with your business partners that you're trying to work with them to solve a common goal, you will be able to put a technology solution easily into that. And I'm not trying to undermine the importance of technology and the understanding and all those things. Uh, but as I always do, like there is a business reason why I'm trying to implement a technology solution, and if I'm able to understand that business reason, uh, 99% of the time I should be able to hit the mark with a technology solve. But if I start
mm,
with a technology solve and try to fit it in, it'll be like me working in that restaurant on that Friday night trying to use my own system, and it didn't work.
mm.
And that's again, as you said, that's my litmus test. Can I, any of my team members go and work in a restaurant and be able to use it? And if they are able to use it without any operational experience, I'm pretty sure like our operators will be able to use it. So I think just understanding the business and being a advocate and great partner for the business is going to go a long way as people or leaders start getting into restaurant technology.
Wow, thank you. Pankaj, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Everyone, I've been having the privilege to speak with Pankaj Patra of Brinkers International, SVP and CIO.